Everybody. Hi, woo! My name is Siobhan Brewer, and I'm the lead organizer at Outfront Minnesota, and I'm the youth organizing director for the campaign Minnesotans United for All Families.
And my name is Michelle Fournier. I'm the Safe Schools and Youth Community Organizer for Outfront Minnesota. Outfront Minnesota is celebrating its 25th year this year. Woohoo! We started originally as the Gay and Lesbian Community Action Council, and we were the social support and the crisis support for folks who identified as gay and lesbian. We still have that crisis component, but we've also grown and expanded. We now have legal advocacy, we do a lot of education and trainings, we do community organizing, and we do public policy. Our two main public policy initiatives right now are working to strengthen the bullying and harassment laws in the state of Minnesota so that all youth are protected in schools. And our other initiative that we're working on is to defeat this marriage amendment that will be voted on in November 2012.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the marriage amendment. If you can't hear me, let me know, so somebody in the back just be like, you know, pump it up if you can't hear me, okay? And I'm a little informal, and I'm not, I haven't taken Hillary's speech class yet, so I'm not as good with my speech, or professional, so just bear with me, okay? I'm a community organizer. So on Saturday, May 21st of 2011, the Minnesota House of Representatives voted after 5.5 passionate, heart-wrenching, grueling hours, after a crazy debate. They voted to pass, to place the equality of LGBT Minnesotans on the ballot in 2012. So this was a 70-62 vote. And essentially what's going to happen is that on November 6th, the ballot will essentially ask Minnesotans to approve a constitutional amendment that would ban loving and committed same-sex couples from being able to marry in our state. So what this means is right now it's already illegal for LGBT same-sex couples to marry. By passing this constitution, it would put it, or passing this amendment, it would go into the Constitution, which would then mean that we would need a supermajority from both the House and the Senate in order to overturn that amendment, which, as you know, these days, you don't really get a supermajority when it comes to the House and Senate, right? So soon after this was put onto the ballot, or this vote was passed in the House, Outfront Minnesota came together with Project 515, which is an organization based out of the Twin Cities, and they decided to create essentially the campaign that would work to defeat this amendment. And that campaign is called Minnesotans United for All Families. A little bit about Minnesotans United for All Families. It's the official statewide campaign working to defeat the constitutional amendment that would exclude gays and lesbians from marriage in Minnesota. Minnesotans United is comprised of a broad, diverse coalition that has come together around the issue of freedom. We have over 250 coalition partners with roughly 25%, so roughly a quarter of our coalition partners are faith-based or from communities of faith. So including faith, we also have folks from the labor movement, progressive and nonpartisan organizations. We have communities of color on board, current and former elected officials, Republicans, DFLers, Greens, Independents, Libertarians, you name it. We know that this issue is not a partisan issue. There are gay people in all communities. They exist of all age, of all background. So this isn't an issue just about whether or not you're progressive. This is an issue about rights and freedom. Minnesotans United will move this campaign. The way that we're planning on defeating the anti-LGBT amendment is essentially by having open, honest, and really positive conversations by Minnesotans with Minnesotans. So the strategy really, and I'm giving away the strategy right now, whether you're on our side or not, I'm telling you what the strategy is. so you know now. But really the strategy is simple. It's just talking to each other. And here in Minnesota, I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from California. But one thing that I know is that Minnesotans like to talk. They like to talk about the weather. They like to talk about the Twins or the Gophers or whomever. But essentially, this is a very common thing that Minnesotans do. They talk to each other. And so the strategy is that simple. We're just going to be talking to one another about LGBT couples, about people that we know that are gay, that are in committed, loving relationships, and essentially get people to realize that this isn't necessarily about rights. I mean, obviously, gay and lesbian couples want rights, right? I mean, who doesn't? Does anybody here not want rights? Oh, yeah? Okay, well, we'll talk after and talk about that. But we know that when you talk to people about LGBT freedom and this amendment, that talking about rights is only going to move people about 50% of the time. That's really heady. When we talk about rights, it's really heady. But when we talk about love, when we talk about the fact that marriage, sorry, I should be over here instead of over here. When we talk about the fact that for LGBT folks, they want to get married for the same reason that everybody else in this room wants to get married, if you want to get married, because of love and commitment. And so when we talk about love, this gets to the heart. And this is how we're going to move Minnesotans to understand what LGBT couples are fighting for. We want to break down the perceived differences between me and you for you to realize that I'm no different than you are just because my partner is a female. I'm the same as you are. I want the same things for my life as you want for your life, as you want for your children. And so this is our strategy, is honestly just talking to people. People talking to people, to break down those perceived differences and to find that common ground. We know that marriage is about love and commitment, and that gay and lesbian couples want to get married for those same reasons. And we also know that marriage is a fundamental freedom that should not be denied to anyone. In our country, freedom means freedom for everybody. This amendment would exclude a certain group of Minnesotans from the freedom to marry. It is fundamentally a limitation on the freedom to marry. Being gay is not a moral defect or a choice. It's part of who a person is. I'm a queer woman of color. I didn't get to choose this. This is who I am. So to single out a class of Minnesotans because of a trait that is fundamental to who they are is unfair, and it violates the basic principles of freedom and fairness that are so important to this state. We also know that defeating this amendment is important if Minnesota is going to be the kind of place where people are free to be who they are, to love who they want to love, and to live free of violence, harassment, and discrimination. So, just to give you some background, this sort of amendment has been on the ballot in over 29 other states. And do you know what happened when it got placed on the ballot? In each state, we lost. Even in California, we lost. And I feel ashamed being a Californian. But we know that this year, we really have an opportunity to win. A lot of Minnesotans are conflicted. They don't really understand, what is this amendment all about? How does this affect me or my friends or my family? Well, it affects you in many ways, in ways that you may not even know. As young students right now, you may have family members that are gay or lesbian who have not felt comfortable enough to come out to you. And so in this movement, we're asking people to stand up and to come out to their friends and family, because it's about time that we start having these conversations and feel empowered. For too long, we've been silenced. And so we're asking people to come out to their friends and family, or to come out and to say, I'm an ally, and I will not let this amendment pass. I vote no because I care. Because even whether or not you personally identify, somebody